Good luck getting that stain out. Oh hi, Bobby here. Today we're going to talk about my 5 favourite amp models for blues in the Quad Cortex by Neural DSP. I'll upload all 5 amp models to Cortex Cloud, completely free of course. Talking of free stuff, check out my free blues rock phrasing course that you can find in the description below. Please hit like and subscribe if you like this channel. It'll really help to grow the channel. I know everyone on YouTube says that, but algorithms is algorithms at the end of the day. If you want to further your blues playing, then do check out my website, absolutebluesguitar.com. It's a huge course that will take you from having never before picked up a guitar to being able to play very authentic blues. Now, with that plug out of the way, let's get into it. I recorded 5 tracks, each kind of covering a different groove, using a different amp model. And I'll play a solo, and then I'll break down the amp model that I'm using and my settings. So for this solo, I'm using the Fender Super Reverb model, which is one of my favourite models on the Quad Cortex. I've got the volume at 6, I've got the bass treble right in the middle with the bright channel, the bright switch on rather, and output just set to 12 o'clock. Cab-wise, I'm using a 4x10 Bassman cab. The mics are just the default mics in the default position, so you've got a dynamic SM57 and then you've got a Ribbon 160. Just in the default positions. Now, each of these rigs are going to have 4 scenes. So scene 1 is just the no pedals. This is gig view here. Scene 2 is blues breaker. That's just kind of set straight down the middle, gain and tone wise, but the volume's at 7.1. Scene 3 is our boss blues driver. Again, just straight down the middle. Generally how I set pedals, if I pick up a real life pedal, you know, I'll kind of put the settings in the middle and see where I go from there. And Blues Driver just sounds fine in that position as a real world pedal. So, you know, you just have to trust that it does on the modeler, and it does. It sounds great, and that's what I use for the solo. And then scene D is just both pedals on, just for a laugh. In each of these presets, I've included a tape delay. Now, I don't use delay very often at all when I'm playing blues. I don't even use reverb when I'm using real world amps because, you know, the room is a reverb unit, but I just have a room reverb, and there's a tape delay on there if you want it, but it's not assigned to any of the scenes. So this next solo is a bit more modern, and this model, the CA 1-Star Drive 100-watt Tweed, is based on a Mesa Boogie Lone Star. You know, you can kind of get into kind of Andy Timmons territory with that. I was kind of thinking, well, in my head I was trying to play like Greg Koch, and with my ears I was trying to sound a bit more kind of Andy Timmonsy. I don't know if that how well that came across, but that's what I was going for. As you can see, I've got the drive set to 3, gain on 5, and this is the EQ. So that's what's going on with the amp. Now, over here, that's interesting. I believe I've got that right in the middle of the cone. I didn't realise I said it like that. So I've got dynamic 57 and I've got a Ribbon 160, which is bang in the middle for some reason. Sounded fine. Delay is off, but it's there if you want it. And a room reverb. So scene A is no pedals. Scene B we've got our Boss blues driver with the gain backed off a little bit there. Scene C, we've got a clon, quite noisy, and that's what I use for the solo. Scene D, we've got a full tone OCD, which is one of my favourite pedals that I regret selling. Just kind of got that set straight down the middle. And then actually we've got 8 scenes on this because this is quite an old preset. So we go to scene E, we've got the clon and the delay. Scene F gives us the blues driver and the OCD together, if you want it. And scene G is the OCD and delay. And scene H is the OCD with just a bit more gain. So there's loads of kind of flexibility with that rig. For this solo, I use the Plexi 100 watt on the bright channel, and as you can see, everything's pretty much straight down the middle. I backed off the mids a bit, backed off the treble because it's quite toppy, backed off the presence, whacked up the output, pumped up the volume, and we've just got the default mics in the default positions again. You know, if it ain't broke kind of thing. This is another thing, I don't mess around too much with parametric EQs. I sometimes have a global EQ for some of the work I do with the Quad Cortex, but that's kind of set with the front of house guy in mind, and it's, you know, it's kind of set to their recommendations of what they normally push or cut in a guitar signal. But I believe that these things should be treated like real world amps, and I tend to only really use the amp models that I would use in real life. Or that I've had experience with in real life, should I say. So here we go. So scene A is no pedals, just a room reverb there. Scene B, we've got the blues breaker again, with the tone backed off a little bit and the volume pushed. That's what I use for the solo. Scene C is our... sorry, this is what I use for the solo. Scene C, I use the blues driver, should I say, not the blues breaker. And you can see the settings for that. Scene D is the blues driver and delay, and these ones aren't being used, so just 4 scenes on that rig. So it's just a Plexi, you know, great for kind of sort of Les Paul style. I use my Gordon Smith Graduate for this stuff, for this solo, should I say, with P90s. So for this Plexi, I'm using Marshall 412 Brit 60B, and this is with Celestion Vintage 30 speakers. So for this solo, I use the Marshall JTM 45 classic amp. These are my settings, bish bash bosh. For the cab, again, we've got the Dynamic 57 in the default position. I changed the other mic to a Ribbon 121, just like the sound of it. You know, I tend to go for the default mic settings initially and then just change things if I want to kind of faff around with the tone a little bit. For the cabinet here, I use the Marshall 4x12 Brit 60B with greenbacks, and we've got room reverb. And then on the scenes, scene A is no pedals. Scene B, we whack the blues breaker on. Scene C, we put the tube screamer on, just the overdrive on 3.3 and a tone just over halfway. And scene D gives us both drives, so tube screamer and a blues breaker. And there's a tape delay there if you need it. So when it comes to playing the blues, you're going to be playing rhythm guitar 90% of the time, and you know, it's not all about solos. So I thought I'd play a Texas Shuffle there using the classic Fender Deluxe Reverb. And this is the Deluxe normal channel. These are my settings. Cab-wise, we've got the 1x12 Deluxe Black C12K cab. Default microphones there, default positions. A bit of room reverb. And scene 1 is no pedals. I keep saying scene 1, I mean scene A is no pedals. Scene B, we've got Tube Screamer, just sort of giving it a bit of a push. And then scene C is a blues breaker, and that's what I used for that playthrough. And then scene D, just for a laugh, is both drives on at the same time. So you've got Tube Screamer first. I generally always put Tube Screamer before any other drive pedal when I'm kind of stacking gain pedals, as they say in the business. And as I say, all of these are available on Cortex Cloud. If you search for Bobby Harrison, or one word, you'll find me there with my left-handed Strat, and you can go and nab them. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it, Bouncer? Any questions?
Yeah, you know when you take me to the park and I have a poo?
Yeah.
How come you never have one?
So there you go. Those are my 5 favourite amp models for blues currently in the Quad Cortex. Do let me know in the comments below if you have any favourite amp models or captures, the ones you keep coming back to. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers.